tonight on NAIT NewsWatch.
We look at how Alberta's budget will affect post-secondary education.
It's going to be difficult for the institutions.
Harder drugs are on the rise in high schools.
We've had SROs that have arrested kids with anything from marijuana all the way up to cocaine.
Graffiti has Edmontonians concerned.
We cannot let up on and must remain vigilant in our efforts to prevent and reduce graffiti vandalism in Edmonton.
NAIT NewsWatch starts right now.
Good evening. The Alberta government says not everyone is getting a haircut with the new 2013 budget, but it appears many are getting a close shave.
Finance Minister Doug Horner outlined a so-called painful budget on Thursday as the province deals with dropping oil revenues, calling it a responsible change. Just a few departments were spared the axe. One of the hardest hit will be NAIT and other post-secondary institutions. Megan Willis joins us live from our news center with more on that story.
Thanks, guys. Post-secondary institutions were bracing for the worst as there were ominous warnings in the past few weeks. After Thursday's announcement, the schools will be doing even more with less. In fact, $147 million less.
Not buying new
We
shoes,
can hear, yeah, we can, yeah.
Because I'm going to do with what I have, because that's the prudent thing to do.
Alberta's prudence is extended deeply in post-secondary institutions. Funds will be cut by almost $150 million to around $2 billion in grant money. The slash means Alberta's 250,000 college and university students will feel the squeeze in classroom and program availability.
This is going to be difficult for the institutions, but we will still be higher per capita expenditures on post-secondary institutions than anywhere else in Canada, even after this budget.
With a current labor shortage, post-secondary educators say it's the worst time not to invest in advanced education, adding the government is sacrificing its long-term future.
Students finding out that they will not have access to services that they thought they would get. All of the assistance that we try to provide students are going to have to be on the block. I mean, quite frankly, it is going to be a very significant reduction in quality of the student experience.
Several schools, including NAIT, will receive more than $500 million to upgrade facilities. But this student says that's not what needs to be fixed.
I'm worried about the budget cuts because I'm afraid of how it will affect the quality in our classrooms.
I know there are decisions in this budget that people are not going to like. What we're trying to do is make sure that we're doing the responsible thing, and I won't apologize for that.
So it appears post-secondary is taking a turn at stepping up to the fiscal plate after seeing its grants bulge over the past decade by 45%. Are there any upsides to this bad news budget? Yes. Students will not feel the burden of this budget directly because most of the cuts will be made in-house, and the government is stepping up its student funding by $250,000.
So what is NAIT saying about this budget?
Well, NAIT sent out a release Friday afternoon saying it's happy that the government is funding their new Center for Technology, which will be able to hold about 5,000 students. Thank you, Megan. That was Megan Willis reporting live from our news center tonight.
Post-secondary education wasn't the only area taking a hit on the chin. Alison Redford's government is holding the line on program spending and public sector salaries as a shortfall in oil revenues means a $2 billion deficit. $4.3 billion will be borrowed for roads, new schools, and hospitals. Your taxes won't be going up, and health spending is also a small winner, as it is now accounts for 45% of the province's total operating budget. Good news also for those who drive to Fort McMurray, as the Tories are going ahead with more twinning of Highway 63, leading to the oil sands capital. But Alberta's 35,000 teachers won't be seeing any raises. Already at a contract impasse, frustrations are growing over class sizes.
But they've managed to take 5 years worth of goodwill that was built up over that tripartite provincial agreement and flush it down the toilet.
News, entertainment, sports. You're watching NAIT NewsWatch.
And with spring fast approaching, snow removal is the last thing on anyone's mind.
But putting away your shovel could leave others and you at risk. Our reporter Caitlin Loucher has more.
Thanks, guys. The slow build up to spring leaves most of our sidewalks looking like this. Slushy streets turn to ice rinks before you've had your morning coffee. But it's important to stay ahead of the weather. can be tempting to ignore your property's sidewalks. The small promise of spring sun can easily outweigh the motivation to shovel. But the City of Edmonton's winter sidewalk bylaw might provide the motivation you need. The bylaw gives property owners 48 hours after the last snowfall to clear their walks or face the consequences. The city officials aren't afraid to enforce it.
Each property is investigated on a case-by-case basis. If there is an infraction, it is a $100 fine, and we may send out a contractor to clean the snow and ice at the property owner's expense.
But according to injury lawyer David Whitten, the repercussions aren't exclusive to the city's bylaw. He has plenty of experience with injury lawsuits and knows the possible consequences if someone was to fall on your property.
If it snowed 2 days ago and you haven't done anything about the ice and the snow and it's all messy looking, well, then you're likely responsible for their injuries.
If left uncleared or obstructed, icy sidewalks could freeze your wallet as well. Being responsible for someone's injuries usually boils down to financial compensation. To avoid impromptu sidewalk surfing, you can visit the City of Edmonton's website to get more tips on ice removal. I'm Caitlin Loucher with NAIT NewsWatch.
Thanks, Caitlin. That's Caitlin Loucher reporting. An increase of drug use in high schools should have parents concerned.
In younger grades, I've noticed more of the harder drugs.
High school students are familiar with seeing and hearing about marijuana in their environment, but what's starting to happen now, many are not used to seeing hard drugs. Hard drugs are becoming more popular among students.
We've arrested kids with anything from marijuana all the way up to cocaine. Ecstasy is still, unfortunately, pretty popular, and that is a drug that you could use it one time and it can kill you, depending on the bat. So, some pretty high-risk drugs being used by students in schools.
The new provision in Canadian law states students caught dealing any illegal substances at school will face a minimum of 2 years in prison.
Mayor Mandel announced that March will be Fraud Prevention Month. Members from Fraud Prevention Alberta were at the meeting and talked about how important it is to raise awareness on the issue. Guest speakers voiced that fraud is a crime that is many times overlooked and needs to be recognized and stopped.
Frauds in general are crimes of confidence. They're building confidence with people. It's not irregular theft where they're just coming to steal your money. They build your trust first and then they steal your money.
You can join Fraud Prevention Alberta on Facebook or Twitter for tips on how you can protect you and your family.
Graffiti artists refuse to cease in Edmonton, concerning residents and police. Most graffiti in Edmonton isn't artistic, but rather tags, which are names of people or groups. Sharon Chapman is very determined to reduce graffiti in Edmonton.
We cannot let up on and must remain vigilant in our efforts to prevent and reduce graffiti vandalism in Edmonton.
The tag Brute has been familiar with the police since 2010, and in late January of this year, a youth was charged with the connection to the tag. Constable Ryan Ketcher says most taggers do it because of their ego and for the recognition. Others are just addicted to it. You can call 311 to report graffiti and vandalism and call 911 if you see it in progress.
A report is confirming EMS response times in Alberta that they are taking too long. Monday morning, members from Government and Health Quality Council of Alberta gathered to discuss options to improve ambulance response times. Dr. John Cowell shared a few recommendations.
Alberta Health immediately reversed its decision to suspend the consolidation of the EMS dispatch system into Alberta Health Services, and Alberta Health Services proceed with establishing a province-wide consolidated EMS dispatch system.
Improving delivery modes, standardizing equipment, and having up-to-date data on the geography of rural and urban areas are all options being considered. The plans of the new EMS system are due March 31st.
Incorrect meat labeling in Europe has resulted in a local business getting new customers intrigued about a certain meat. Horse meat is sold at Ben's Meat and Deli and has people feeling mixed feelings about the product. But third-generation owner David Van Leeuwen says it has brought people more aware.
I mean, if you advertise something that's beef, it should be beef. But I guess some people, they're aware now that actually horse is a market, is an industry in Alberta and Canada.
People started getting curious about the product after a meat plant in Europe mislabeled horse meat as beef. Horse meat is more pricey than beef, but it is lower in cholesterol and fat.
And March celebrated this year's National Engineering and Geoscience Month in Alberta by holding a civilian military trebuchet challenge. The competition consisted of 5 teams competing against each other to make the best trebuchet, using the materials they were given. Trebuchets are medieval machines that use counterweights to throw objects at opposing forts. All ages were able to participate.
A lot of young people involved in professional engineering, as well as some more experienced folks, so it's just a snapshot of the profession.
When it came time for testing, no teams were able to knock down the fort, resulting in a one-chance beanbag toss, where closest to the line wins. Team B ended up winning victory, and awards were given to the winning team, best-looking trebuchet, and best team spirit.
We are now entering the season of construction, and the LRT system is the first to get a facelift. Starting March 3rd, LRT services between Churchill and Central stations will be reduced. The tracks are 35 years old and need to be changed. Services between Churchill and Central LRT stations will be cut down to 1 track. This could affect Edmontonians' daily commute to school and work.
If it's delayed too much, I'm sure I will have to carpool or find some other way of getting to school, especially if I'm getting to an exam. I might have to end up taking a cab, and the city should expect my bill.
Normal services are expected to resume at the end of April. Coming up after the break, we take a look at tanning beds and its impact on people's health.
Skin cancer appears to be one of the risks related to the tanning beds, particularly for teens.
Skin cancers that it produces is the most aggressive types.
Coming up in sports, we take a look at the Edmonton Rushes season so far, and I try not to fall over playing sledge hockey.
It's a little bit cool here today, and we're gonna continue during the weekend. Spring ahead, so maybe rainy and warm on Monday, but more details about the weather forecast coming up after the break.
And I washed my car this past week, and with all this nice spring weather melting everything, it wasn't a good idea.
I don't wash my car at all. It just stays dirty all the time. We have Amar Darduri joining us outside our studio today. Amar, how's it looking out there?
It is not bad, so it's been fairly warm all February and most of March, and you're gonna continue on weekend. So tomorrow, for example, it will be above 0, and here is how warm it will be. Calgary, partly cloudy, low -6 and high +6. Jasper, mostly cloudy, low -10 and high +1. Fort McMurray, mostly cloudy with a 40% of a chance of snow, low -11 and high 0. Edmonton, increasingly cloudy, low -5 and high +3. Average high 0. Average low -10. Record high +17, 1934, and record low -33, 1954. So if you are planning for going out,
NR92, the station for the students.
So if you are planning going outside for outdoor activity, it will be warm and cool, and it will be a beautiful day.
Perfect. So now we have no excuse to not go for a run outside.
I will find one. I will always find one.
Winter is coming to a close, and that has some students thinking about their summertime tan.
A recent health study shows that an alarming amount of people are using tanning beds as a means to darken their skin, a practice associated with a serious health hazard. Ashley Collingbull reports.
The debate associated with tanning beds isn't new. Labels already exist on the beds warning people about the UV radiation involved in tanning, as well as referencing the effects of long-term use, such as premature aging. Alberta has started a campaign to further raise awareness of the dangers due to the lasting popularity of tanning beds, especially among young women ages 18 to 24.
Because it makes me feel good about myself and my skin color.
Firstly, the new beds will carry a more cautionary label that reads, "Tanning equipment can cause cancer, not recommended for use by those under 18 years of age." Dr. Leo, a dermatologist, agrees that warnings are necessary.
We discourage people exposing themselves to UVA.
Dr. Leo also stated that while many people think that tanning is harmless as long as it's done in moderation, in fact, no amount of tanning is safe.
And the skin cancers that it produces is the most aggressive types.
As fall turns to winter, many of us crave the warmth of the sun and a trip to the tanning salon. But in reality, a trip to a tanning bed may be harmful to your health. But there are other ways to give yourself a healthy glow.
I would suggest people use spray tans. That's the best thing.
Despite the numerous risks, there's still some work to do to convince people of tanning dangers.
I don't like the risks, but I will take them to feel good about myself.
Ashley Collingbull, NAIT NewsWatch.
And I hear our OUKS hockey team, the boys one, has been doing really well.
Yeah, I've heard that too. We have Bert joining us in our studio today.
Thank you, guys. The OUKS had a chance to close out their semifinal series against the Concordia Thunder on Thursday night. The first period didn't have too much action, so we're going to skip ahead to the second period, with the OUKS forecheck allowing Michael Peluso to get a chance in the slot. The OUKS come right back at the Thunder, and the line of Peluso, Lazowski, and Borelli can't quite jam it in, although they do come quite close. The Thunder don't give up, though, and Zabados is forced to come up big and slam the door. But eventually, Mike Wilson snaps one home to tie the game at 1 apiece. One of the real strengths for the OUKS was their forecheck, and it does lead to another goal. Jordan Draper potted an easy rebound into the yawning cage. That was a nice goal. The OUKS, smelling blood, come out of the third period firing, and eventually take advantage of the Concordia Thunder netminer Tommy Sandals scrambling, and Fellnermeyer slides into a slapper to extend the lead. But the deadliest lead in the hockey world strikes again, very shortly. That's as close as the Thunder would get, though, as the OUKS hold on to win 3-2 and sweep the best-of-5 series 3-0. The OUKS will now face the winner of SAIT and Augustana in the ACAC finals. For some Canadians, spring is a time to forget about ice and winter and look ahead to the summer months. But for curling fans, it's a time to get rowdy and watch the Brier. Edmonton is hosting the Brier for the 6th time, and curling fans couldn't be more excited. It's a chance for the always passionate curling fan to come out and support their province and see some of the world's best curlers. While lots of fans are still turning up, attendance is lower than thought, even though it's already the 8th highest attended Brier in history. Poorer than expected attendance numbers might be attributed to Kevin Martin's Alberta team having a below-average round robin. The Edmonton Rush are heading back out on the road and are coming off a huge win against their provincial rivals for the first time in a dozen regular season games.
Pure hatred and wanting to beat them finally, right? Just putting it to a stop, and Coach Keenan even just said that just put a stop to it. It stops now, and we just have to make a stand.
With the W, the Rush have evened out their record at 5-5 and are now one game back of the West-leading Washington Stealth. The Rush are in the midst of a 6-game road.
Don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves. It's just one game. It meant a lot at the time, but we got to move forward.
Canada's national men's rugby team manager is touring the country to check out the facilities that they will be playing on this spring when they cross the country playing a series of exhibition games to prepare for the World Cup qualifiers later this year. Team Canada is currently ranked 10th in the world as a team of 7s and hope to medal at the World Cup to grow their fan base in their home country.
We've got a whole slate of games going right across Canada. We start here in Edmonton against the U.S., then we go on to play against Tonga, Fiji, Ireland are coming in, and then we actually fly to Tokyo for our last game before those World Cup qualifiers. So lots of action right across the country.
For this week's End Zone Challenge, I spent an evening with the PSA Sledge Dogs of the Alberta Sledge Hockey League. First off, I was fitted for a sled and met the team. Then I spent longer than I'd care to admit trying to get into the sled. And finally I was off. I managed to get something into the net, but unfortunately it was myself. After I tried skating by myself, Coach Tara showed me the proper way.
So rather than going like this, because it's only working your shoulder muscles, you want to keep it in close to your chest because you're working more your back muscles that way.
I learned the basics of skating, and then a couple of teammates showed me the proper way to shoot, and then I got some pro advice on passing.
Make sure that it's nice because with sledge, you have two targets. So, Brett, I've got either my left target or my right target. With you, if I'm swearing to you, yeah, exactly. So I can choose your right or your left target. You can tell me, too, if you want to tap your stick. And then when I push it, yeah, exactly. You cradle it right back. Awesome.
After my unfortunate attempts to learn to stop, which I totally can do, then it was on to a scrimmage. That worked out very well for me, as well as the assistant coach I inadvertently tackled. But then, it was my moment to shine. I was in the clear, and I got stopped. But wait, there was a rebound. I pounced, and I got robbed another 2 times. The goalie got lucky.
1, 2, 3, go! Awesome. Great practice, everybody.
So sledge hockey is a lot of fun, but man, if I wasn't wearing elbow pads, my arms would be black and blue.
Yeah, how sore were you? I mean, I heard you were using muscles that I assume you wouldn't normally use on a daily basis.
Yeah, no, school's been pretty busy and I haven't really had a chance to work out, so that was enough for the week.
Thanks, Brett. Coming up after the break, we take a look at the Canadian Liver Foundation Walk.
Mayor Mandel joined the event to support the foundation's hard work.
I want to educate the public. 1 of every 10 Canadians is affected by liver disease. Fatty liver disease is on the rise.
Coming up in entertainment, we take a look at the upcoming Calgary Comic Expo and a look at Jim Carrey's first major comedy in 5 years. All that and more coming up.
NAIT NewsWatch jackets provided by White Ridge. Elise and I spent our morning on Tuesday at West Edmonton Mall participating in the Canadian Liver Foundation Walk.
It was a great way to start our morning. We left feeling refreshed and more educated on how to keep healthy.
Good luck with the month, and may it all do very well for you.
Thank you.
Thank you, the entire team.
Thank you.
Mayor Mandel attended the event presenting the organization with a proclamation recognizing the foundation's hard work. Booths were set up with pamphlets about the foundation and donations.
I want to educate the public. 1 of every 10 Canadians is affected by liver disease. Fatty liver disease is on the rise in Alberta, so we're just trying to encourage people to make smarter choices once in a while.
Oakley and I enjoyed a healthy breakfast before we were off to do the 1.5-kilometer walk around West Ed. The walk happens every Tuesday morning at 8 a.m. and yoga and Pilates follows. Well, that Jim Carrey movie looks great, and it looks like it's going to be a good one.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. And I also see that the Calgary Comic Expo is getting into full swing. Cody Barron joins us with entertainment.
Nerds, geeks, movie lovers, TV addicts, and comic book know-it-alls, it's time to unite and prepare ourselves for the 2013 Calgary Comic Expo. It's back and better than ever, which has nerds of all kinds everywhere super excited and counting down the days.
We're going some Star Wars, we got some Doctor Who, really kind of covering a bit more of a spectrum to attract more people. So I think it's fantastic, and it's going to be really great to help keep the numbers up and show that Alberta produces one of the best Comic Cons in all of the world.
With a huge guest list including big names like Stan Lee and Ian McDermott, there's a lot of people that Jay's excited to see.
Well, honestly, Weird Al.
Oh my, this here Anakin guy.
I'm looking forward to meeting some of the cast of Game of Thrones. I'm really, really addicted to that show.
Fear is for the winter.
Winter's coming. It's kind of nice. There's a lot of good things to choose from.
I'm so excited for that. The expo runs from April 26th to the 28th, and to get your tickets and to check out the entire guest list, head to calgaryexpo.com. With all the choices you have when going to the movies, there's one more that will end up hurting your wallet. The next time you go to the theater, the biggest choice won't be what to see, but how to see it.
That doesn't make sense.
It may not make sense, but with the growing advancement of the theater-going experience, such as 3D and Ultra AVX, going to a movie is becoming increasingly expensive and confusing.
Yeah, well, I feel like people who don't go to movies a lot, if they go to like Cineplex, people just like don't know about that, so they go see a movie and they're like, what? Now I have to pay $17.50 because it's Ultra AVX and it's 3D? And I was just expecting to come pay like however, I don't even know how much a single ticket is anymore. I can't remember the last time I've been to a movie where I didn't have to pay for like some extra little thing.
So the next time you go to a movie,
you have to ask yourself one question.
Is it worth paying for the theater experience? Jim Carrey is back in hilarious form as a battling magician in the incredible Bert Wonderstone.
Welcome to the amazing world of magic. Wow. Everyone loves a magician, and they'll love you too.
Do you want to be my partner? More than anything.
Bert Wonderstone, played by Steve Carell, always wanted to be a great and famous magician. There's just one problem.
Your ticket sales suck.
What?
Steve Gregg, they're calling him the future of magic.
This guy's a magician. He doesn't even have a costume.
I'm sure you've seen people walk on red-hot coals, but I doubt you've seen anyone spend the night on red-hot coals.
So, to prove his ability, Bert takes part in an all-out magic war against Steve Grant, played by Jim Carrey, to see who truly is the greatest magician.
Watch this. What have you done? I'm a magician. Should have explained that to you earlier. What you do is not magic.
It's natural for a dying leaf to be frightened by the autumn wind. Your skin makes me cry.
Even to go to such lengths as to pull off a grand performance where Bert and his partner will stay in a glass box for a week. Or at least, they'll try.
It's only been 20 minutes. This is the best trick ever.
Filled with non-stop hilarity, craziness, and of course magic, the incredible Bert Wonderstone is sure to please and amaze when it hits theaters March 15th.
For 12 days, he's held his urine.
What is going through your mind? I really have to pee, Richard.
I'm definitely excited for that one. And if you'd like to go see it too, all you have to do is be the first person to tweet us at NAIT NewsWatch, and you can win a double pass to see this hilarious comedy in theaters. Well, that's all for entertainment. Back to you guys.
That movie looks so good.
I know, and Jim Carrey's so funny, and I love the fact that he's Canadian.
Totally.
Anyways, remember to turn your clocks ahead an hour.
You can watch our shows on naitnewswatch.ca. Thanks for joining us. Have a good weekend, everybody.